Light Grid Late Night, Rockin' Larry Locken. Hey, kicking it here with my co-host on this particular show, Broadway Joe Garcia from Hollywood, Florida. I am clear over on the other coast of the west coast of the United States of America, North America, overlooking the beautiful Pacific Ocean on a star-filled, clear, warm, early spring night here in the beautiful Oregon coast. And tonight, Joe and I are going to discuss a few things. We're going to talk a little bit about Earth politics, a little bit about exopolitics, how it relates. We're going to kind of go into 9/11 a little bit, something I've really never done on a show, but have some opinions about. We're just going to talk political here and how it all relates and kind of, go in depth. We're going to also give a shout out, maybe talk a little bit about the tobacco gods a little bit, have a little fun like I did on my previous show on the Light Grid. We're going to talk about those lovely tobacco spirits, and we'll probably even smoke a cigarette during it. So, hey, all the way from Hollywood, Florida, Joe, man, how's it going tonight? Well, I guess it is this morning here too, 12:02 a.m. But man, it's so late. It's early where you're at, bro. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm doing good. I actually am normally up at this time of night because I am an insomniac, and I have to I don't smoke pot like I used to, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't. But I drink beer, and I'll take like a muscle relaxer, and that'll help me to sleep if I when I desire to sleep. But
A little soma, little cyclobenzaprine.
take those. No, I don't take any. Um, I don't take Xanax or any of that crap. That's
What do you take, Flexerol or Scalaxin?
I take Flexerol. That's what I take, and
Yeah, well,
that helps me
yeah,
sleep.
on the pot thing, just on a side note, bro, on the pot thing, come to Oregon. I'm sure you'll take care of it. It's legal up here, but yeah, man, you're looking good, looking like Willie Nelson tonight and shit, man, rocking it, and exactly. I mean, what? So basically, go ahead.
What we lost by like 2 percentage points. So I think that this vote coming around in November that we're going to legalize it here in Florida, hopefully, because not for me personally, but my daughter suffers from lupus,
Right.
and the pot really helps her out with her pain, and helped her manage her immune deficiency syndrome. And so there's a lot of people out there that could really benefit from the medicinal properties that marijuana has. I just used to use it to get high back in the day.
Yeah, me too, and I couldn't believe it helps for pain. I'm not really one that thinks it to me that it does, but then this new stuff called Keef that's out that's like 100% THC crystal flakes that really can help with pain. But Joe, I wanted to ask on the marijuana issue. Then, if they're going to legalize it there, are the politicians there? I take it a little more. I know that, of course, you had Rubio there as the senator, and Dummy, his little brother Jebby was the governor there for a long time, which we'll go into about the election being stolen a little bit in 2000. But are the politicians a little bit more open-minded as far as that goes, and say somebody like a Jeb or little Marco?
Well, the Republican the Republicans are totally against it, but the Democrats are more for it
Oh yeah, the
because
pleasure police are always out in full force.
well, the Republicans are against anything that's going to help the common man, and especially
And fun.
yeah.
Anything that's fun. No underage sex. Just pure abstinence. Only no sex before marriage. No sex after 12 midnight. Only missionary style.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything against homosexuality because I believe that everyone should choose their own life path. And if your life path happens to be homosexuality, well, then so be it.
Yeah, it's none of anybody's business. It's really none of anybody's business. Just like with drugs or anything, it's really none of anybody's business. And the Republicans are always bit. Yeah,
I'm not going to
yeah.
say
They're
that you're evil or that you're you're against God's laws or anything. It's like, who knows what God's laws are? We don't know because
Apparently,
we met God. Nobody has.
apparently Ted Cruz knows. And apparently though they're so anti-big government. You've always heard them preaching anti-government, right? Well, the fact of the matter is they're anti-government when it comes to anything helping you out, but they're pro-government when it comes to getting in your fucking life with abortion, with marriage, with drugs, with whatever the hell it is, with abstinence in schools. I mean, they're all up in your business when it comes to that shit. And really, they're not small government rate. I mean, the Democrats and the Republicans have grown the illusionary debt time and time again. So if we're talking about from an illusionary standpoint, which all this is, the Democratic philosophies are more pro people, whereas the Republicans are more pro wealthy corporations. And we're not slamming. That's just the facts of the matter that it is. I mean, somebody disagreeing with us out there, and I hate to say this, but I mean, think about it. Take a look at it. Okay, what is your deal? Do you have some racism issues? Do you have some animosity towards somebody else? Oh, those fucking people over there. Look at those people over there. They're not like me. I mean, it's just so backward. And the Republican Party is going to die if they don't get rid of a couple things. They need to get off the gay issue, get off the abortion issue, get off stumping for the Bible. If they could get rid of those three issues, show some compassion. But then again, there'd be really no need for them. I mean, they're a dead party, and the Democratic Party just kind of whatever. But politics as a whole, I think, is just the country's changing, the demographics are changing. We've noticed that this election, it's kind of like the initial part of it. I look at this as kind of a 8-year cycle. Really, what we're looking at, the start of something big. And yeah, I'd like to get your take on that. And the thing is, I'd like to go into a little bit about what we were talking about in the pre-show, do our thoughts on 9/11. So take it and roll with it, man.
All right. Well, as far as the Republican Party goes, I think they're like on a downward spiral. Unless my theory is correct that Donald Trump is a shill for the Republican Party, and it's a scheme that they have contrived to get the Republicans to vote for Ted Cruz because they don't want to vote for Donald Trump, and they're going to probably try to steal the delegates at the convention and vote for Ted Cruz. Not Kucinich because he's out of there, but Ted Cruz is like the next supposed front runner of the Republican Party.
Fuck, they got to be out of their. They got to be out of their goddamn mind if they think that with the demographics now that son of a bitch will ever get elected in a real election. I mean, just look at the demographics: the women, the minorities. 40% of white people. They're not going to vote for him. They're not going to vote for his bullshit. Even if Hillary was behind bars, they're not going to vote for Cruz. And as far as Trump goes, I've heard it even said that could be a shill for the Democratic side, but you just don't know. We could end up with an election here where we've got two people running that aren't even in it right now. You could be looking at fucking Biden and Romney or Biden and Paul, and there you got dumb and dumber. But I'd probably go with Biden over the two. But Hillary's not going to get fucking indicted. I don't care. She's guilty. Yeah, whatever. That's beside the point. They're not. The FBI can recommend it. The Obama administration is not going to indict her. I mean, it's just that simple. And she'll be pardoned. I mean, it's not a matter of should she be or shouldn't she be. You tell this to people and they start bitching, oh, Hillary ought to be. Well, that's not my point. My point is she's not going to be indicted. The demographics are different in this country. I mean, if she, I just don't see short of a rigged election. Ted Cruz is not going to win. I mean, Donald Trump, I'd give a slight chance to, maybe, depending on some wacko shit, but there's no way. I mean, I just can't see it without a rigged election, which they all are, but you know what I mean? Something obviously out in the open. And I don't know, Ted Cruz kind of creeps me out sometimes, and it just looks like a kind of a pro wrestling event when him and Trump are arguing over the Inquirer and all that shit that went on and pointing fingers at each other and and it's just they can't get him to, then you can't get Cruz to say he wouldn't support Trump, even though this shit about his wife. I mean, who could sit there and still support somebody for president if they really said that shit about your wife? I don't care about political ties, party ties. These guys are brainwashed, and it's sickening, man. Joe, are you there? Joe left the room, but hopefully he'll be back in. I'm going to get him that link so he can come back in. But we're talking about tonight. This is Rocken Larry Locken, frontman for both Palladian Express Productions and also the YouTube channel we're coming to you on tonight, Palladian Light Grid Project, which of course they both have pages on YouTube and Google, and I mean on Facebook. And we're talking a little bit about politics and exopolitics, going over 9/11 a little bit, talking about the state of kind of what's going on right now with American politics and the circus that's ensuing, and what we might encounter. So right now, I'm going into Facebook. Of course, it never moves quick when you want it to. In the meantime, while I'm doing this, I'd like to give a special shout out to some people out there on Facebook. Of course, my twin flame, Sif Gunner's daughter, Bridget Rao, sometimes co-host on Palladian Express Productions, The Blu-ray Show with Shimonica Natalie Alea. I'd like to give a special shout out to Bridget. She's going to be on the show Saturday night on the Palladian Express Productions, and I'm really looking forward to having the chance to interview her. I really have a good flow with her and relate to her like on so many levels. So it should be interesting. And the main thing is we want people to come on and talk about their experiences, on the PEP. Share what they know, share what they've learned. Regular star seeds, it's our time. We're not talking about Barbara Marciniak or David Icke or Andrew Bartz, whoever. We're talking about you. I mean, come on, share your stories. If you've got a group you want to promote on Facebook, I know we've got Anastasia Campos coming up. She's from Australia, really, really intelligent, brilliant lady. And we've also got Marcel Boyes coming up, and she has a group called Sun West on Facebook, and she's from New Zealand, really spiritual, really smart. So I think those will all be interesting. I'm really looking forward to having Bridget on the show. Okay, well, hopefully Broadway Joe, I know his phone was getting hot down there in Hollywood, Florida. And here, before I went on air, I had a chance to take my dog for a walk up here around. I'm up by the woods and the lake and the sweat lodges and whatnot. And the stars are so bright and low and blinking different colors. Made some quick contact with a couple of them, and just got that warm, fuzzy feeling. And my dog was calm, didn't bark. It was just warm. It felt like a Texas night or a California night out here. So the weather's definitely changing. It's really strange for early spring to have that kind of thing going on. And the weather here in Oregon the last 4 or 5 years has been different. It changes. And of course, a lot of that's due to the planet shifting. Some of that's due to all the shit that they're doing up in the sky, like that HARP's doing, and, organizations like that, testing weather modulation, of course, extraterrestrial influence. It's all going on. So it's not just that it's one thing. It's not just that it's chemtrails or, the.
Hey, sorry, bro. My phone shut off for a minute.
Out Broadway Joe, all the way from Hollywood, Florida. Hollywood swinging down there in the East Coast Hollywood. You got cut off, man, but I know that you were going to start going off about, I don't know where we were. We were talking about the politics this year and the shit going on, but you can touch on that a little bit, and then we can kind of get into our 9/11. I feel like when we talk about 9/11, it's going to be kind of clearing, because maybe we may rant a little bit, but we're getting it out, and we're two souls that really need to, that are, I know, still resentful from that time and what happened, even if people don't give a shit. It really was an injustice. And, then again, on a bigger scale, the whole thing was a setup. Yeah, the whole thing was a setup.
People are forgetting about it. They're like moving on with their life and like saying, "Oh well."
Or Joe, I hate to interrupt you. Or Joe, they're doing this, or they're bashing Obama being the worst president ever, and he's going to start martial law. And I've been waiting for that for years, but yet they can't. Yet just right before Obama, we had the guy that they should have really been paranoid about like that, but yet they don't know or care or remember. I mean, isn't it nuts? We go in this 20-year loop. I swear, Americans, they're brain dead. We go in this 20-year fucking loop of shit. It's crazy.
It amazes me because there are millions of people that never had health care, that and the Republicans are like bashing this Obamacare, which was bringing affordable health care to millions of Americans that would not ever have health care because of pre-existing conditions that they had, and they would never, ever, 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 ever have health care because they had these pre-existing conditions. Well, now with this Obamacare that the Republicans hate, now they're getting this affordable health care. And it's not free. It's not free. They're paying for it. They still have to pay premiums to get this health care. It's not like they're getting
Yeah,
a
it was
government
originally.
handout.
Yeah, and it was originally Richard Nixon's fucking idea plan like this back then, and it's kind of one of them pacifiers. It does a little bit, but it doesn't do what we want it to, like universal health care. But here's the deal, Joe. I don't know about you. You've been around a little longer than me. I've never heard the Republicans, except for, well, that idea I just said Nixon had, but I've never heard the Republicans have one fucking, even an idea for health care. Yeah, they bitched, and they're good at bitching about it and saying we're going to repeal it, repeal it, repeal it. I've yet to hear them even put a phony proposal forward.
No, they haven't. They haven't. And the reason why is because the drug companies and the medical associations have shot it down every time because they feel that they're not going to be able to get the proper amount of money from the people, which is us, that they should be getting. They want to charge us for something that the insurance companies should be paying for because we're paying for insurance premiums. That's what we're paying for. And there's a lot of people that are paying for insurance that never, ever, ever go to the hospital or never go to see a doctor. I mean,
It's fucking bullshit.
I was paying insurance premiums uh, back in the 80s. I was paying $400 a month for me and my family to have full coverage. And we never went to the doctor, but I was
In
still
the
paying.
land of, yes, in the
And
land of milk and honey. Yeah.
I was just one of millions that were paying that. So you multiply 400 a month times, let's just say uh, there's 20 million people in California. Let's just say 5 million, okay? One quarter of that. Let's say 5 million people are paying $400 a month times however many years.
You're
You know how
getting into
much money
billions.
insurance companies are making?
Billions.
Billions.
And
Yes.
it don't stop there. Yeah, it's so fucking sick and corrupt and evil, dude. And basically, if anybody had any common sense, okay, every other country has free healthcare, and no, you don't wait in line for
Yes.
fucking 6 months. My
Yes.
fiance lives over there in
Yes.
Denmark,
Well,
and you get in quicker.
here's the argument that the Republican Party has. Yeah, they're paying for free health care, but their taxes are way higher. Well, okay. So what?
They're taken care of, though. That's true, but they're taken care of. They're paying about twice
Yeah,
the taxes, but all that
exactly.
shit's taken care of.
But so what? I would rather pay higher taxes to make sure that my family's taken care of. I have family vacation. I mean, not family vacation, but family leave
Oh
when I
God,
have
they have that over there.
family, and catastrophic illness and all that. I mean, come on, you
You get
know.
paid for when you're off work over there. You get hurt at work, you get paid no matter what, no matter how much vacation time you've taken. You get a month, a year usually at jobs to start right away. I mean, you
Yeah,
know what? It's just, yeah, the healthcare actually is better in the Scandinavian countries. You wait less time. The drugs are a lot cheaper. I mean, the problem with it here is, okay, you've got it so high, the cost, and then you've got these fucking doctors that have went to medical school for 10 years that have a million, several $100,000 in loans. Student loans are bullshit. Every other country pays for their students to go. I don't care what people say. America can
there
cough
are
up a
countries.
couple things. They can cough up free health care. It's a right. They can cough up free education for those who qualify, and for those who don't, free community college. I mean, they can cough up a $500 to $1,000 food card a month for every fucking U.S. citizen that's not making over a couple $100,000 a year, whatever. Even that, I don't care. We've got, and we spend so much money on our military. If we're going to keep doing that, which is a joke, we should have these other countries paying us for our services. It's just really ridiculous. We jail
Exactly.
more people. We
We're
jail
paying
more
them.
people than any other country. We've got more people in jail in China and Russia, more people in jail than in college. I mean, for petty, nothing bullshit crimes. And it just, people, are going people need to really, it's not about getting out and carrying a sign in the streets, but it's about being conscious and aware, and it's about mentioning it here and there and bringing it up and talking about it and not burying your head in the clouds, because it's getting bad enough where it's going to affect everybody. Everybody's got to come together. And I'm not painting a doom and gloom, but I mean, it's kind of at that tipping point where, okay, we got to come together. And the younger generation is, I don't care what people say, the younger kids are good, and I think they're great. And I think
They
that
know.
it's just a matter of, yeah, it's
They
just a
know
matter
what's
of this
going on.
old guard.
Let me tell you,
Yeah,
let me tell you something.
go ahead.
My wife lived in Sweden for 4 years. All right, and they paid her to go to school. She didn't have to pay to go to school. They paid her.
Nope.
They paid her. All right. You want to go to school? Okay, here's some money. Go to school. They paid her to go to school. All right. She learned all kinds of different trades. And as far as healthcare goes, the they had like it doesn't matter who you are or what you are. You had the best doctors and whatever nutritionists and whatever to help you out, and they did not charge you one penny. It was all paid for. But they're of course the Republican stance on this is that, yeah, well, you got to pay all these taxes. Okay, well, you know what? I would rather pay higher taxes and get all that free stuff than than for me to be able to pay lower taxes and not get that free stuff. I would rather get the
And
free stuff.
when you talk about free stuff, though, as far as I'm concerned, you have the right to that, being a citizen of that country, just as much as like anybody working in the government. You're a citizen of the country. It's not free. It's your right to have it. And that really leads into, I kind of lost my train of thought for a second, but oh yeah, the Republicans, you mentioned them as far as like attacking those countries when it comes to their social capitalism. Well, they really don't when it comes to that. Here's what they use for an example. They use fucking Cuba, Venezuela, wherever, Bora Bora. Oh, look at how they do it over there. Oh, but it's just it's really really something sometimes. And yet here's the kicker of the whole thing of all their rhetoric, right? They never have a fucking, not even a fake half-ass answer in reply to what they would do.
They don't have a plan. They don't have a
They
plan.
can't even fake a good game anymore, Joe. They can't even fake or talk a good game anymore.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
It's
You know what?
it's really yeah. Go ahead.
I think people are really starting to see that, and the younger generation, because
For
I talked
sure.
to my daughter. She's 21 years old. She's like, she was like born when I was 45, so she's like a uh, late birth as far as my life is concerned. My oldest son is 43, and my daughter is only 21. My youngest daughter. I have another daughter, a middle daughter that's 32. But she's like, Dad, you're right. You're right. You're right. I hate Republicans. They're idiots. They don't have our interests in mind. They're only for the big corporations. And I'm listening to my daughter and I'm saying, girl, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And all her
Yep.
friends the same way.
Yeah,
And
they get it.
that's why a lot of young people are going towards the Democrats. It's the older generation that are
It's
stupid.
Bernie's philosophy. Yeah, right. It's even some of the Democrats show they're stupid because the young kids get it. Like with Bernie, it's like 80% under 50 even like him. But it's a
Yeah,
lot of the people, not to attack the baby boomer, your generation, but it's a lot of them still stuck in that Hillary mode. And I just feel like kind of that half-ass mentality is what faded the hippie movement out. That and not having, of course, you guys didn't have this technology medium to interact with each other to connect back then. But these kids get it, especially the ones under 25 and shit. All the way down to birth, man. They're just were born conscious. And the Republicans, I'm not trying to judge the Republicans, but they don't offer any solutions. All they do is bicker with each other. And you find people that support them are either caught in an ideal, caught in a philosophical way of thinking, caught in a rut, or they're pissed off, they're mad. It could be a big, huge percentage of white Americans that feel like they're disadvantaged now, and they got, just, there's no like heart to heart dialogue with them about shit. It always comes down to religion. It always comes down to judgment. It always comes down to that. I mean, that's just, it's what it comes down to at the end of the day. I mean, I've dealt with it my whole life and been on the inside of it. It's ridiculous, man. I mean, and people are starting to see that. And I don't know, people are caught in a frequency mind control. My grandparents were from the World War II generation. Give you the shirt off their backs, good people, but they were so brainwashed by fucking Walter Cronkite and Nixon and Reagan and, anything that they'd hear on the news. Oh, well, Vietnam, even, they supported Vietnam even years later when it was admitted it was a mistake. Well, we didn't know any better. Okay, we didn't know any better that, attacking a little island nation and staying there for 20 years to make a bunch of money. We just can't make any progress. What do you think it was? I mean, with that frequency mind control, it just, I don't know how your parents were, but did they seem to just buy into everything that was on the news? And this killer thing is, these were great people. These were hardworking people that would save and scrimp and they shirt off their back, but yet they'd buy any fucking thing that was given to them with the American flag wrapped up in it.
Actually, my parents were Democrats because they were hardworking people. They were. My dad was in World War II. He was a tail gunner on a B-29 bomber, and so he was in the war. And my mother worked for. Actually, this is really interesting. She worked for Baker McKenzie and Hightower. I believe I probably told you that before. That she worked for um, uh, James Baker. Which was
That's right. The guy that was in the guy that was in Reagan's party. Well, that's amazing. You're lucky they were Democrats. I had an aunt that was too, and she was kind of an outcast, which I don't
even though
understand that, right? Because
she worked for him, she was still a Democrat. She did not buy into that bullshit that they bought into, and because she was working class, even though she worked for a high class lawyer, she was still working class. She was still working class, and so was my dad. And and he was a war veteran, and he was a product of the World War II era, and uh, so they did not believe anything that the sorry, that the Republicans had to say because they saw it firsthand that they were not represented by the Republicans. The Republicans did not represent them whatsoever. They represented the corporations and the upper 1 or 2% of the country, whereas the Democrats, throughout history, except for FDR, represented the working class people. Are you still there? Hello?
yeah, Joe, I muted out what I was going to say about your folks. I bet if you could have asked them, I bet you in that time, in that era, they probably had a lot of friends that were Republicans, and I can't understand that because we had a Democratic president through World War II and the Great Depression and in FDR, and then of course in the 50s Eisenhower got elected. Of course, I think that was a mistake. I think that Adlai Stevenson should have been elected. He was kind of a 50s liberal. It would have been better for the country, but we went into the military industrial complex and all that shit. But yeah, that's good that they weren't brainwashed. My grandparents would just buy anything they'd hear on TV, especially the Republicans, Cronkite. Well, not Walter Cronkite. I'm not trying to bash on him, but I'm just saying that's kind of him or John Chancellor. That was really the only news guys back then, or Huntley or Brinkley. And you'd get them, and that would be the only point of view. But yet, I would take any of those guys in a second over Fox News or MSNBC or any of the shit now you got. Whether it's Brett Baer, Megyn Kelly, or Chuck Todd, or some of these people that are out now. It's just like, fuck, give me a break. It's such an illusion that it's funny. It's almost getting funny to watch because it's so obvious. They'll cover They won't cover Obama all day at a heroin summit for heroinics. They won't cover Hillary or Bernie giving serious speeches, but they'll cover that Trump and Cruz thing nonstop. And it's almost so obvious. You couldn't script it anymore if you were trying to be stupid in Hollywood. I don't know there was this late 70s movie called Network or something. This guy said, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. Well, today's world is a lot more outrageous than even that movie. And it's just crazy, man. And it really, like I've said before, it started with the Reagan and Bush years. And, I don't know. I think Reagan was just a brainwashed fool by people controlling around him, kind of like Hitler had with idiots like Goering and Hess. And so here we are, man. I mean, and you lived all those years. And I know that 9/11 is something that's a sore subject for both of us. But first, I'd like to get out of the subject of Gore. The 2000 election, I'm still stinging mad about, even though, the whole thing could have just been a whole cover-up illusion too. But that recount, Gore wins Florida. Then they decide, oh, no, it's too close to call. Then Bush wins it. Then they go to a recount finally. It's Saturday morning. The recount will be over Sunday. And they have the Supreme Court for the first time ever only meet on a Saturday. Couldn't wait till Monday, meet on Saturday in a 5-4 vote to stop a state's recount. How that doesn't seem constitutional. And then, unofficially they still kept going and finished it, and Gore won the state. Okay, Gore won the popular vote by 500,000 people. Okay, now he fucked up. He lost his own home state of Tennessee. That would have won it for him. Ralph Nader, who to me, I think I never liked him after that point, sold out. He ran, that screwed him. He distanced himself from Clinton, couldn't get Arkansas. The whole thing was just really a clusterfuck. And I knew Bush getting in there, we'd be in Iraq. And well, I got to give him credit. I thought we'd be in there in 6 months. Took a couple of years, but we did have 9/11. And it's just too convenient. And people that want to say, oh, it just happened, they had no knowledge of it. Well, to me, that would be more of a crazy story than what really happened, that they are American. I mean, that we would let 19 guys from a taco stand just come over here and, without any intelligence. It's just, it doesn't add up.
Dude, we had advanced knowledge of the attack on Pearl Harbor, right? And 50 years later, we don't have news or intelligence about an attack on America.
That's creepy you say that, Joe. Joe, seriously, just earlier this afternoon, I was looking outside and all of a sudden this came into my mind. Pearl Harbor came into my mind, thinking that calm. I was thinking, God, that calm, quiet day, kind of weirdly nothing going on. And then that happened. That, now that I'm thinking about it, even though it wasn't buildings, that sure as hell seems like a 9/11 kind of setup to me.
Yes. It was meant to bring us into the war. We had advanced knowledge that Pearl Harbor was going to happen. We had advanced knowledge that there was going to be an attack on Pearl Harbor. This is documented that we had advanced knowledge, but nobody's going to come out and say, oh yeah, we knew about it. Nobody's going to come out and say that. But there are papers and documents that prove that we did know that it was going to happen, and we did nothing to stop it. We just let all those people just get burned and annihilated. And it was a tragedy, of course, but
I think you got a lot of you got a lot of former officials in their 80s. You got a lot of former officials in their 80s and 90s, right? That are just fucking hoping that the shit don't hit the fan before they die. And some of the younger ones, because these people have knowledge of that, and Kennedy, of course, and everything that we've done. And those are just the main points. I mean, there's all kinds of little chicken shit things we've been involved in, and the Iran Contra. Those are just things that have come out, but all the little things behind the scenes we've done. And, really, Joe, I was really disappointed in my fellow Americans on the day of 9/11. And after, I was really sickened by it, because I was the only one around me that called bullshit the day it happened. Of course, years later, I was listening to Barbara Marciniak, author of Bringers the Dawn, and her reaction was the same thing on that day. This is bullshit. And, but the people were so gung-ho American after that and brainwashed. We'd always have this Coca-Cola fucking patriotism, whether it was Desert Storm.
Where,
people people are moving out of that now and awakening. That's what I'm glad to see. They're not being idiots and brainwashed dumb shits like they were out of 9/11. Oh, we got attacked. Boo-hoo. Well, you got all these other countries get attacked all the time. And then, the outrage and don't say anything bad against Bush. And, oh, he's a great. That was kind of the last. That was really an ugly time for America. And I think a really, maybe their ugliest. And I think it really helped to set the set the settings for where we're at now. Problem is, a lot of people that are these gung-ho anti-Obama youngsters, the few there are, they don't think, oh, gee, when I was a kid, we had this other idiot in. And they think because they think, oh, Obama's going to do it. He's going to end the world. Obama's going to cause martial law. Obama's going to, I've been saying this for like 3 years, dude. He's not going to do anything. He's just riding it out. Now you still get people, oh, he's going to do it this year. The guy's tired. He wants to fucking retire. That's all it is. He's not. This guy ain't any, you take all these presidents that are so complicit in a lot of war crimes, but probably Obama a couple too. But look, if you want to talk illusionary 3-day bullshit politics, let's pretend like we're in the illusion. He's the best president since FDR. If you want to know the fucking truth, you can't count Kennedy. He was only in there 2 years. He's in a league of his own. But Obama, legalizing gay marriage. Okay, Obamacare. Yes, we should have universal health care, but he got that through, and he's just been fought. There's a lot of things he couldn't do, Joe, because he's been fucking fought every step of the way by Republican people. Yeah, more so than other Democrats. And I'm not saying it's completely racism, but there's still a lot of little underlying subconscious shit in the back of the minds of those Southern white senators, and it plays into their constituency. And it's undertones. It's not like I'm saying any of these people are with the Ku Klux Klan or anything. It's just that, well, probably not anymore, but they still have that contingency, and there's still that thought. And I'm so glad I live in the Pacific Northwest and are from out here, because I really, there's a lot of good enlightened starseeds in Texas now. It's starting to become a blue state, but I don't resonate with that old school Southern mentality of that. And, it's crazy. And they fought this guy every step of the way, and they're fighting the Supreme Court nominee, which here's what will happen. If Hillary gets elected, okay, they'll have that 2 months in between. They'll probably be screaming to nominate this guy, this Merrick Garland, because a lot of the Republicans before Obama endorsed him have said, oh God, he would be great, but Obama never nominate him. So Obama nominates him just to say, hey, fuck y'all, nominate this guy. But so what you'll see is they'll put it off. But I guarantee you, if Hillary's elected or if it was Bernie, those 2 months, they'd be screaming and yelling to try to confirm this guy. And then Obama should stall the 2 months. I hope if that happens, Joe, I hope Obama stalls the 2 months and time runs out. And then Hillary can elect a liberal, or whatever.
What's amazing is that they're claiming that, well, during an election year, they're not allowed to nominate a Supreme Court justice, but that's not true. That's absolutely not true. They're just saying that, and hopefully, if they say it enough times, that people will believe it. But it's constitutionally not true. They are allowed to nominate and have a vote during this, what they call a lame duck presidency.
They won't even vote. Yeah, they should vote on it. And you know what? This is their arrogance. They've got the majority. They're going to vote. They just go through the motions and vote the motherfucker down. So what would be? It ain't a matter of them being nervous because they've got the majority. So I don't get it. I get why they're doing it, and I can't get another reason why they're doing it. And there's no fucking precedent to be set for this at all. It'd be like you playing basketball over my house. I say, well, that's out of bounds. Oh no, that's my house rule. No, that's out of bounds right there. I mean, vote the guy down. They can vote the guy down, but now I don't think they want. I think they want to see if the Republicans lose the election.
They even want to vote, and that's constitutionally not right, because it is in the Constitution that they are allowed to vote during an election, and they're saying no, we're not. But it's not true. It's absolutely not true. They are allowed to vote.
Well, you're seeing some of these Republican senators coming for these chicken shit senators coming forward for the right thing, but for the wrong reasons, because they're worried about losing their ass in their Senate race this year coming up in the fall, which they'll probably lose the Senate.
A lot of them are going to lose their ass. A lot of them are going to lose their ass. I guarantee you a lot of them are going to. Here's the thing: the young voter, and this is what we're banking on right now, is the young voter, because the young voter is more aware of what's really going on in this country, and they see through all the bullshit that that the Republicans are pushing through to the older voters, and the older voters are maybe, hopefully, are also seeing through the bullshit. But it's mainly the younger voters, and the younger voters are going to go to the polls, and they're going to freaking elect the right person. They're going to elect the right person. I have faith in them. They're going to elect the
I
right
do
person.
too. I do too, Joe. And as far as that goes, you look at shit. You're right, and you look at 2020, 2024, with them getting older. I mean, and plus more the minority base expanding. I mean, the Republican Party is basically dead in the water in the
It's
next
a joke.
couple decades. They're toast, and
They're a joke.
The Democratic Party's in for some reforming too. You know what used to being a Democrat? I'll tell you what used to piss me off in the '90s and in the '80s and the '90s and early 2000s. God, we were such pussies bowing down, weren't we? We were such pussies to those Republicans, like people like Tom Daschle and fucking shit like that. And I mean, and God, man, no backbone at all.
Well, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Okay,
Okay.
who do you think the younger voter is going leaning more towards, Bernie Sanders or Hillary?
Like Bernie by a large march in the polls show not only younger voter, when you say younger voter, you're talking people 50 and under. Yeah.
Larry, I'm not talking about the
Yeah.
polls. I'm talking about what is your opinion.
Well, my opinion is overall they are forget the polls. My opinion overall, right, is that the consciousness of these young people is shifting towards a Bernie mentality. Okay, definitely. I mean, even if it wasn't, Bernie's kind of spearheaded this, but he's just the pioneer. These kids are going to push it forward, right? I mean, we're looking at 2024, and yeah, I really do. Yeah, the majority of them have that consciousness.
Here's another question. Okay, do you think that Bernie is too old to become president?
It's easy to get hung up in that mentality, but I have to stop and think that, okay, listen, the other two, listen, Trump's 770 and Hillary 69, so and Bernie 74. Okay, that may make a lot of difference to that age area. I don't know, not so much probably as it used to. I don't. God, it's so funny. It's like on that cusp, Joe. I hate to get caught up in numbers. I'd like to see him about 4 years younger, but what can you do? If he got elected, he'd only be 83 when he got out of there. Okay, that's still for somebody, if he's in good health, fairly good health, sound mind. I mean, he'll have the best of health care. I think that, yeah, he's right on that. He's right on that cusp. I sure as hell wouldn't want him any older.
Right. I'd like to see. Seriously, I would like to see like a, a Clinton type um, age bracket, and a Clinton type um, person that has that charisma.
I'd like to see Elizabeth Warren. Yeah, there's a woman I really like, Elizabeth Warren. She's kind of more liberal than Hillary, but that'll be years down the road. I don't know. I'd be curious. What's your take? You know anything about Elizabeth Warren?
Not that much. Not no. I don't. I've heard about her, but I don't really know that much about her because I really haven't been. Really haven't seriously haven't been keeping up with much politics except for what's going on right now.
Me too. I used to be totally in the game, and then I got out of it in my awakening for fuck it, it's all lame. But this particular election, okay, it's huge. It's not so much the election. It's about an awakening of America, and we've totally seen that. Elizabeth Warren's kind of in the background a little bit. Her and Trump had an exchange 2 weeks ago. She called Trump out on some shit, and Trump said, "Oh, the Indian." He threw just a slur out there because she is Indian, but yeah, I just see this as a big mass awakening right now. And people in the groups some of them go, oh, politics is bullshit. Believe me, I'm the first one to agree with that. But there's always an exception. This election is certainly special, and it's something to look forward to in years to come. And if Hillary is elected, okay, if Hillary is elected, Okay, well then we're going to ride it out, and we're looking at 24 because 2020. I mean, no, don't rock the boat. Fucking let her serve 8 years. If a Republican got in, we'd fight it in 2020. But I look at 20 and 24 and so on as, yeah, I mean, it's shit is just Joe. It's changing overnight, brother, and you can see it. I mean, there was a parallel reality where it could have happened this election. It still could, but if not, we're looking at 20 or 24, and it's just amazing. I mean, I think, forget the fucking polls. Yeah, the younger people have just that even the ones that don't want to admit it, their consciousness is more towards being humane and not ramming your beliefs down other people's throat, and live and let live. And they see these other
You know,
generations after them that just fight and argue with each other.
they're okay. This generation, just listening to my daughter and her friends, because I hang out with her friends and my daughter. Okay, they're like in their 20s. All right, and I'm in my 60s, but I still hang out with 20-year-olds. Okay, and I listen to them, and they are not disillusioned at all. And let me tell you something. They're very smart. They're very smart, and they know what's going on in this world. And
Yeah, these are not your great grandparents, early 20-year-olds. I mean, you definitely.
when I was 20, I was like fucking around, and I was like, just I just wanted to get in every girl's past that I wanted to get into. I wasn't like thinking about who was going to be president or what. I didn't care. I didn't care because I was just like thinking about me. But now these kids today, they're thinking about their future because their future matters because they have to think about all kinds of things like student loans, and their
Which other
job prospects.
countries don't have? Which other countries don't have student loans? What a joke! We bailed out the fucking banks. Why could you know what? That is a goddamn sham that all debts weren't forgiven to the people, and it's time those corporations fucking pay back, man. I mean, this is just fucking bullshit.
Yes, it's ridiculous because you know how many countries don't even have student loans? They don't even have student loans.
No, they
You know?
pay you to go to school. Yeah, they invest in you to go to school.
Yeah, they invest. It's an investment. Here, it's not an investment. It's a burden. It's a burden.
Well, it really is. And in those other countries, the citizens, okay, they make up that country. That is their right to have that. Just like here, who's this? Why does the 1/10 of the top 1% get control 50% of the wealth, and people are just okay with it? That's not okay in this day and age, man. It's not okay for, do you realize, Joe, that if the minimum wage would have kept up from the early 70s to now, a guy working fucking a minimum wage job would be making like $22 an hour with 4 weeks. I mean, he'd been making about 40K a year at an entry level job, and vacation and all that shit and healthcare. And it's really ridiculous. But it's like that over there. That's like a minimum job is something that would be comparable to that.
Look at the minimum wage in Denmark is like $20 an hour.
Yeah, Sif can attest to that for sure.
Isn't that like, come on? And what are we making here? 7 something?
Yeah, it's really ridiculous. The national Oregon's like 10 now, but yeah.
Burger King.
No, I do know, man. And you know what? It's the work weeks over in places like that. I know Jeb Bush was making fun of it a little bit, but they work 30 to 35, 36 hours a week, a couple hours less than we do. And and they take care of their people over there. No, they don't have the huge military budget we have. Okay, which a lot of ours is not necessary anymore if we get the fuck out of people's business and invest what money we had in better technologies and keeping our, keeping the military here to work for the civilian, corps, building bridges, building these pipes. It's so funny, Joe. This is how pathetic it is. Most of the underground water pipes and structure in the vast part of America, especially when you get back east, are pre-Civil War. They're pre-Civil War. I mean, fuck, I wasn't even so sure they had running water yet then or anything like that. I mean, so they're pre-Civil War. Our bridges are falling apart. And we just don't put the money in here. We just got complacent and let it happen. And, the greed is run amok. And, but this is a good thing. It's a cleansing what's going on. All these the system really needs to crumble. It either needs to crumble, or the people like these young people need to get interested in running for. Yeah, they say, oh, it's bullshit. Why fuck politics? It's not, but get interested in running for the Senate and Congress. Make a difference, because there is a transition period between this and having a society where we live as a community and take care of each other with community and things like that. Okay, there's a transition, and get involved in it's your fucking government. I know it sounds stereotypical, but it's yours. Get involved in the Senate, get involved in the Congress. And the more people that do that, okay, it stems the tide. It's not going to happen just by coming out every 4 years and going rah, 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 yay, 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 or throwing the flag up during a good time, and then going back to your dancing with the stars, tweeting on Twitter life.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely, you're absolutely right, and I agree with everything you say there. But here, let me interject something here. uh, Going back to the military complex, uh, one nuclear sub, just one nuclear sub can destroy the world. And how many nuclear subs do we have? We have hundreds of nuclear subs, right? So we can destroy the world 100 times over. And why are we spending all this money on all this other crap that we really don't need?
Yeah, we've got the hammer. There's no reason to be spending all this money and all this other crap, because we've got that technology, like you said. And I mean, in fact, it's not even going to be if it was going to be something go down, okay, it'd be a dirty bomb or something the military couldn't really defend. You'd have to have intelligence on to stop. I mean, as far as a nuke goes, okay, we could get hit, but I mean, these countries that are radical, okay, they say they're not stupid either. They know they would get turned into a parking lot. Okay, I mean, and so who cares if North Korea has this one nuke that they couldn't get off with a slingshot? Okay, it's just bullshit in the media, and things of that nature. I really do feel like that. And as far as Israel and Iran go and stuff like that, Iran, I mean, Israel's got so many nukes back.
All it is scare tactics. Scare tactics to get voters to vote for the warmongers. Whoremongers.
They're both of them. Hey, to interject real quick, it's like, okay, you take Israel and Iran on the surface. Okay, Israel's scared of getting hit by a nuke. Okay, Iran, they're so, if Iran was that dumb and stupid, they would have already done it a long time ago. But let's say they had one nuke. Let's say I had a whole arsenal of AR-15s and shit like that, and I'm getting mad because I hear you might be getting a slingshot. I mean, come on.
Exactly. That's what I don't get. We're spending billions of dollars in aid to Israel to fight Palestinians.
And why? I know that there's a lot of radical Palestinians. So they say, well, there is. Okay, shit goes down, but the history is complicated, okay, with them. But the thing is we can get into that. But you look at the Gaza Strip; it's not that big. Why can't Israel put a foot forward and offer that little? I mean, originally they occupied Palestinian land in the 40s, but here's how they play it off. Oh, God called his people to return to that part of the. I have a friend who thinks that if return to that part of the world, and they just did in the 40s. What a bunch of bullshit.
That is part of the Republican agenda. Is that they're like fulfilling the prophecy of the Bible. They're fulfilling the prophecy of the Bible when Israel is completely their own country, and they get rid of everybody else, and their own country. That once that happens, then the Christ will come back.
Exactly. And it happened, I believe, Illuminati controlled in the 40s. Of course, I think the original Israeli people that moved back there, Israeli descent, were probably elites, first wealthy people, and then they started moving people in there. But of course, they had to have British troops to secure the area. It wasn't just that they all started moving there. I mean, otherwise, these other people would have came in and stopped it. But, they created this area for these social elites down there. And as far as I'm concerned, the Book of Revelation's right, if you do believe in that, I think that shit already happened. Okay, they're talking about Atlantis Lemurian or something. That shit has already happened. If it was even, how it went down, that shit already played out. And these Republicans, they cannot wait to get it happen again. And they would just love it. They would hate not having to, they would hate it if there was no more fighting or war. They'd be bored. They wouldn't have nothing to do with. They would just love to bring on this rapture. Oh, everybody's going to come towards Israel and get, you know what? No, they're not. They've got all those nukes. And for one, who in the fuck would engage in a war to end the world over a little piece of land like that? And I'm not saying not defend them, but give me a fucking break. Those people aren't even, they're mostly related descendants of bankers and shit. They're not the real Israeli fucking people. A lot of them probably didn't get to go back there. It was people that were of the high class at first. Then they moved some in for show. And then the politics got started there. I mean, it's how it went down. People just think, oh, God's people just all of a sudden moved there in 1948. Yeah, well, a lot of people started moving there because they thought that, but after it was secure, the British helped secure it. I mean, otherwise they wouldn't have done it. And you can't argue that point with somebody who's stuck in the Bible. You can't.
Well, that's why these radical fundamentalists, they're always talking about fundamentalist.
Oh God, yeah, radical jihad. I mean, yeah, all these catchphrases that fucking play into the psyche.
And so, but when you look at the whole picture, the Christian right is nothing more than another fundamentalist faction.
They're really a cult, and the whole kicker at the end of it is that everything that they stand for is completely anti what Christ was. It's funny. It's like, okay, we're going to kill you, and then we're going to start a religion after you. I mean, it's just really wild. It's really, they believe in fucking drilling for oil, the other day, Pat Robertson on 700 Club was like, okay, the oil, drilling and investing in oil is biblical. He made it sound like that Christ would have been for drilling for oil and shit and making all those profits come on. Yeah, let's rape the earth full of all their fluids, get them out, suck them out. Don't get any more newer technologies. And I know people are like, oh, well, the oil companies, they're working on other technology. Yeah, they're working on ways to control and manipulate them. That's why this stuff is free energy and things like that have to come from backyard mechanics and, and things of that nature, that when this stuff comes out, because the oil companies will fucking suck every last little bit of oil out of the earth. And then what technology after that is, they will try to make sure they get a stranglehold on it. In the late 70s, Jimmy Carter put solar panels up on top of the White House. Reagan, at the request of the oil companies, right after he gets elected, takes them off. Now, why would they do that? Why wouldn't they just leave them up there? Why would they take them off there? And of course, the oil, that just shows you right there. Now, I would love nothing more than somebody to give me another reason besides that it was, the oil companies wanted it off the roof, which everybody knows. I would love to hear. I could just almost imagine what kind of cockamamie excuses I would get. The rain or some bullshit, or it's not good for this or that, or I don't know. But why take them down? That's just not that it was really going to do any good anyway for one place, but still, why would they do that? And of course, it was because of the oil companies having a stranglehold on the Republicans, just like the pharmaceutical companies, just like, with the pain pills, want to get you hooked, want to get you to where you run out early, go hustle on the streets, and go have to buy your pills because up the line, the cartel loves that because your tolerance goes up and up and up, and it gets crazy, man. And they don't. And people are so reactionary instead of responsive. They want to create a law. Oh, this law will help this law will help that, but then it's going to create other 1,000 laws, and then some of it's going to get enforced, some of it's not going to get enforced. It's like with everything, even drunk driving laws. I'm controversial on that issue. I don't believe in how harsh they are. I think 0.08 is too low of a limit. I think 0.12 would be good, 0.13. And the problem is it's about getting people in the system, getting them to pay fines. It's really not about saving lives, but you get these reactionary people like Mothers Against Drunk Driving, who didn't give a shit about it before something happened. And I'm not knocking them. Like, God love them for their, I grieve for their loss, but they get reactionary instead of responsive, and they want just these laws to cover everything: a seatbelt law, a helmet law, I don't know, a cock holder law. It's just ridiculous, though. I mean, and I think we're becoming more as we go into 40, though, more of a responsive instead of reactive society. 9/11 was a big humbling lesson for the majority of Americans who were very, very, and I'll be blunt, very, very, very brain dead at the time. Very brain
But you
dead. I
know,
was alone on an ocean.
speaking of 9/11, talk about it. They're like, it's almost like it was like it never happened, or it was like uh, something that was in the past that they're not willing to talk about.
Yeah, it
You know,
might
it's
as well
like
be Atlantis and Lemuria. It might as well be Atlantis and Lemuria. Yeah,
yeah,
what's 9/11, and and I can already hear some any criticism that we would get on this show. It's either going to be saying, "Oh, well, you guys were being judgmental," or it's going to say, or they're going to be acting out of emotions. Yeah, well, this guy did this. Well, the Palestinians do this. Blah blah blah. We're not attacking Israel. We're not attacking Palestine because see, all the people are great. It's these fucking manipulating leaders. It's these that are manipulated levels up. It's these puppet leaders like Sharon, like the guy over in Iran, like, all over the place, all over the world, whether you like them or not. They report to somebody 4 or 5 levels up from them. And they don't even, they may know the person who knows the person who knows who those people are. And that's just how it works on up the line. And to think it wouldn't work that way would be fucking really ignorant to think that there's, people, the secret society conspiracy and all that. But they get hung up in just that, the conspiracy. But it really is true, though. I mean, it's just there's families way above fuck the Rothschilds, Rockefellers. I get so sick of hearing them. They're just catchphrases and puppets. They're 3 levels down from whoever's running the show. You know what I mean? You get hung up on that build. I mean, it's not that it's not bad to research it, but you get stopped at that and get hung up on it, or you get hung up on an Illuminati sign on the dollar bill, and you either go, "Oh, that's bullshit," or you go, "Oh God, that's scary. I don't want to know anything about that." Yet it's not as bad as you think, but yet you don't quite realize just how fucked up and intricate it is. It's the perfect organized disorganization ever on down the line on a need to know basis, and everything in every way is compartmentalized. I need 3 ingredients for this product, but I've got 3 separate people that don't know each other making each ingredient. The CIA runs shit that way. You may work on one little thing, and everything's compartmentalized, everything's contracted out. It's done with the military now. They don't do their own food usually. That's contracted out. Weapons, supplies, everything is about making big money. And let's cut off. Let's stop having the school do the busing. Let's contract it out to a. What a bunch of fucking bullshit. So somebody's making money off all those deals, right? Of course, getting a little bit, even in the most innocent of them, they're getting some kind of little kickback on a low level. On a high level, they're making a lot of money doing it. And so even though politics are bullshit, and at the end of the day, both sides probably go and have a beer, like 2 wrestlers feuding out in a grudge match afterward. Go get in the same car, but people need to get involved and be aware. Look at the alternative media. I sometimes will. I don't watch TV much, but I'll watch. If I'm at my dad's, I'll watch Fox News for a little humor. It's just I don't even live in that dimension. It's crazy.
well, that's the whole point. It's all about money now. Everything is about
And the
money.
power, It's getting so bad, Joe, that with them that shit, money's just like an afterthought. It's power.
With money comes power. With money comes power. So
Yeah, especially when you're talking the kind of money of billion, almost trillionaires, right? That it's been in that family and bloodline for fucking maybe decades, maybe even centuries, right? At that point, it is pure power. Yeah.
absolutely, and that's what is running this country right now. Not just this country, but the world is money, and uh, we have gotten away from what um, I believe this world should be, and excuse me if I'm being a little bit melodramatic, but I believe this world should
Go
be
there.
about. I believe the world should be about love.
No, I do too. Seriously, be your brother's helper, not your brother's keeper. Be reactive, not or be responsive, not reactive. It's like okay, it's like living in a neighborhood, right, where everybody's in your business, everybody's nosy, everybody backstabs. But then responsive would be like be living in an area, yes, where everybody knows your business, but there's no judgment. Nobody cares to judge. I mean, everybody does their own thing, yet everybody knows. Everybody's in tune with the greater good and not what's that guy doing? What's that guy up to? God, I hope he's up to something so I can sit and worry and stare all the time and look out the window and wonder what the fuck's going on and manifest something out of nothing. Oh, I better call Betty Lou on the phone and let her know. Oh, something's going on. Look at those kids. Look, I mean, shit like that. Instead of shit like that, I mean, keep to your own and help people out, but don't get in people's business and tell them what they should and shouldn't do. I don't care if somebody's got a tank in their backyard as long as they're not going down the neighborhood shooting people or whatever they want to do in the privacy of their own home. Whatever they want to have as long as they're not threatening anybody. I mean, they had a million guns. It takes a bullet. You ain't gonna do anything without a bullet. But and I'm not real pro gun, but leave people the fuck alone until they start harming somebody or hurting somebody physically or if it's a child, mental abuse. But I mean, other than that, there's no fucking sense in getting somebody's business, whether they're getting high, whether they're doing that. It's just not your business to get in their business about it. Okay. And it's just plain and simple. It's not your fucking business. Just like with other countries getting nukes, unfortunately. Yeah, it sucks, but we've done it. I mean, we've got to get past this trying to control and stop and minimize, and we've got to put a foot forward and work together. And there's still so much I see in 3D land when I watch shit like the election. I still see so much ignorance and hate, and I wonder if I'm even on the same planet. Oh, those people over there are radical. These people are that. These people are this, and they are. But the ones that are, I wonder how much of it's created by our government on both sides. Every major war we've had in last 100 years has been ran. Both sides have been ran up the ladder by the same people. And why in the fuck wouldn't it be that way? Why would anybody think it'd be any different way up the ladder like that, playing that kind of game for money and to move shit around and to do shit over here while everybody's distracted over here? I mean, why wouldn't it be? And then it gets into up the rabbit hole further. We could go way down the rabbit hole or up at Joe. I mean, you talk about just Joe, just what in the fuck has been running, just what the fuck has had a frequency mind control over this planet, the archons, whatever you want to call it, reptilians, and of course that may be fading, but just what in the hell exactly way up the ladder above these secret societies has been running this shit? And it makes you wonder. You hear people talk about breakaway civilizations and shit like that, and all these stories have to come from somewhere. The Antarctic and Nazi bases, those could have been the Pleiadians Billy Meyer was seeing. Who knows? It's really odd, and there's so much we don't know. But what we do need to do is we do need to keep our minds open and not be suspicious and paranoid or everything, but keep your minds open and ears open and just kind of put this puzzle together, you know what I mean, together without any judgment, but yet realize what's going on when you're in an out moment.
Yes, but uh, touching on a point that you just made was that um, I I consciously believe that there is uh, an extraterrestrial influence on this world that somehow, somewhere, sometime, that there are uh, peoples that are in contact with otherworldly peoples. Now, I believe this, and I believe that um, we are in a conflict right now between, uh, let's just for argument's sake, let's say good aliens and bad aliens. Okay,
Yes.
we are in a conflict right now, and there are good aliens that are trying to influence this society, and there are bad aliens that are trying to influence
Self
society.
agenda ones for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and I honestly believe with my whole heart that the good aliens quote unquote, are going to prevail because uh, evil not uh, a not a thing that is a natural occurrence in in any society, whatever society you are from.
Yeah, but you got free will involved in that, and I think the way it's going to go down is like this. And a few years ago on my wake, and I've seen the dog fights in the sky, a couple of times between them. And I really think what's going down right now is it all matters to the awakening of the collective, the earth. As the earth awakens more and more the free will, the more that the good extraterrestrials can help us, like 10-20% of the way. But there will come a time within the next 15 years where if we didn't have our shit together by the end of the 20s, they're going to have to come in and, they're going to, this is what my contacts told me, they're going to have to make a move. But before then, hopefully, I think it's going to, things are going to change a little bit before that. But you've always had, because of free will, this planet quarantined by something like that. And I agree. I think Hitler and the Nazis were in contact with, possibly, rogue Pleiadians and reptilians together from Aldebaran. I know that before, I've heard rumors before Tesla had them trying to contact him, and he was like, didn't vibe with him. He's like, no way. And then the Pleiadians actually contacted him and consciously gave him a lot of this information. But then those same entities, got with the Nazi party, and I really do believe, Pleiadian and light forces helped the Allied forces in World War II. The Foo Fighters that were up there, the Germans thought they were ours. We thought they were theirs. I really think that they were probably not the bad ones, but those were probably Sphere Being Alliance and Pleiadian, Syrian, Arcturian forces. And the Nazis were more given technology as far as I don't know, free energy, anti-gravity measures, the Antarctica base, who knows? And they could still be down there playing mind manipulations with people to control them. I mean, it's really hard to say. And by the time Billy Meyer had those contacts, those ladies could have been second generation and not even known. They could have fucking thought they were from another planet. Who knows? You know what I mean? It's all his story is a whole other story. I believe it's laced with real extraterrestrials, fake ones, lies, truths. It's hard to know, but we really don't know. And the only thing that scares me is people like you and I talk about this and others, and we're kind of looking into it. But the good majority of the people still wouldn't even. It's not even just that they wouldn't believe this; they wouldn't even understand what you were trying to say. You'd be. It'd be like me going up to you on the street and with a camera and saying, "Hey, Joe, what do you think of the source flow consciousness of all that is that consciously goes?" I mean, it's just, they would look at you like a deer in headlights. It'd be like George W. Bush trying to read Shakespeare.
Exactly.
What were you doing? Taking a bong hit? Were you taking a bong hit?
No, I was cooling off my phone.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, yeah. Well, we're almost wrapped up, man. But it's just I'm excited about the future, and I really my hats are off to people, from that first waiver generation, people like you and my father and other older, people that are born in the late 40s and early 50s, and seeing that. I mean, does it seem like you're in a total new world? I mean, like compared to life when you were living in the 70s and now, does that even seem like it was this planet to you when you look back on it?
Well, let me tell you something. When I was living in the 70s, it was like a totally different world than it is now.
Well, we had a reprieve then. I just want to say before you get started, we had a reprieve in the 70s and almost could have ascended. Things were going really mellow and cool. And then we had a chance in the 70s to ascend. Maybe it wasn't the time, but the 70s were a break. And all the people I've talked to and done the research, what a fucking fun, lighthearted time, that little reprieve we got between the 60s and 80s.
When the 80s hit us, it was like totally different, completely different.
Clamp down the frequency control.
It was like totally different. We were like, all of a sudden, we were like free love, and everything was cool. And all of a sudden, it was like, all right, now you got to do it our way, and this is how it's supposed to be done.
Yeah, I even noticed in the '80s, Joe. Even further than that, even the fashion and shit of the '80s was so obviously purposely counter 1970s. And of course, I got to tell everybody out there, Joe is the inspiration. I did about an hour talk several months back. It's on YouTube. Pleiadian Message 1979 to 1984 Illuminati Control. It's on Pleiadian Light Grid Project. Plus, Leah Weber Avis, El Jada's got it on hers, and the World Peace, she reused it on there. And I talk about this shit, about that corporate control starting about mid 79. They started in, and then about 84, it was totally taken. It was totally like the early 80s were kind of like it was half and half. The shit was going on. Things were, you still could echo, but by about late 84, man, it was clamped in. And I always knew that as a little kid. And I heard a Pleiadian channeling about it one time that I could never find again. It was staggering, but it's so true. And David Wilcock spoke about it as a year or two ago at the Life Expo, and it's like, hey man, you stealing my material, bro? No, but he.
In the 80s, we were given nothing but fluff. We were given nothing but all these uh, TV shows that were telling us all about um, how nice it is to be living in this era, and
Yeah.
and they were telling us that, like, oh, we this is such a great time to be living, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, no, the 70s were the great time to be living in. That was the
Yeah, there was this brainwash, like, oh my God, let's go the Reagan way, the Wall Street way, invest the corporate. Oh gee, Claire, look at Cliff and Claire Huxtable. Oh gee, look at they're doing good. Look at the Keatons on Family Ties. Oh, we're just doing so great. And oh honey, gee, get me another fucking Coca-Cola out of the fridge and another fucking moon pie out of the drawer. I mean, exactly right. And everything was about Wall Street, Wall Street, Wall Street. And the people that did make bank then are the ones that can rewrite history. Like, oh, the 80s were so great. They were very there was still that hanging on to the 70s and 80s, so but it was really fucked, man. I mean, it was really bad here for anybody that wasn't wealthy.
thing about the 80s and the Reagan administration was that unemployment was extremely high, and it was unbelievable.
Terribly high. That's another point I forgot to touch on in the show to the people. Unemployment was fucking out of this world.
Yeah, and it was outrageous. I mean, I was out of a job. I mean, I was always working my whole life, and I always had a good job. And all of a sudden, here in the 80s, like, I can't freaking buy a job.
My
You know,
dad either for about 5 till the late 80s, man. He went through this phase, man. You couldn't. He was the hardest man at working man I've ever known. You couldn't. You're right, Joe. You couldn't find a fucking job from about, well, shit, really the start almost of the 80s, early 80s till shit into the fucking late 80s. I mean, really almost the whole decade was okay. It was always bad, but almost the whole decade till the late 80s was that fucking terrible.
you couldn't buy a job. You couldn't buy a job. You could not buy a
I'm
job.
glad. Yeah, I'm glad you backed that up because that's the point I was making, and I was thinking, okay, well, maybe that was just the Pacific Northwest, but like I said in the interview, it was going on in California, it was going on in the South, it was going on in Motown with the cars leaving.
At the time. And before all this happened, I was making really good money. I mean, I had a townhouse, I had three cars, my wife didn't have to work. I was the sole provider, and I made so much money that all my kids had everything they wanted, little league, soccer. I mean, they had everything. And then all of a sudden, like, boom, no jobs.
It was
Everybody's
boom overnight too, man. Yeah.
just like, what?
I wish the young people I wish the young people like your daughter's age and under and a little bit older, even like, I mean, I wish we had them around in the 70s. It would have been I mean, we could have maybe captured that, or at least it would have been a bigger fight. The Illuminati, they clamped in, they seized the moment because we are kind of in that relaxing, just having fun, and suddenly everybody's working, making good money. Shit, if you had kids in high school, you could afford to buy them a fucking car to go, you know what I mean? It was no big deal. And then all of a sudden in the 80s, unless you watch TV, Joe, like you said, if you were watching fucking any of these TV shows in the 80s, I don't give a shit whether it was the Cosby Show, Family Ties, whatever the fuck was on then, Designing Women. They were all investing, and oh boy, they're doing looking in this account, and boy, they're all doing great. Look at how great they're doing. Look at how great that 1%'s doing, and everybody else is going down a minimum wage. But people just got lulled by TV because it was the advent of the cable system. In the 70s, yes, places had cable. We had it here a little bit, but you had basically 3 or 4 channels, if not one, until the 1980s, most places, and then the cable system came in. I mean, granted, ours only had 10 channels till the 90s, and it sucked. But still, you had like ESPN, MTV, and the Advent USA Network, all that shit. The advent of all those to keep people busy, plus the bullshit shows on TV that were not as good as the ones in the 70s. I'm sorry if you want to go there, but the 70s sitcoms were better. The 80s ones were more getting to that. They were more of a transition into phony fake shows I can't fucking stand from the 90s, and you probably would like some, but I can't stand Everybody Loves Raymond, King of Queens, Seinfeld. They just don't vibe with me, and fuck, I can't really stand them. The 80s ones, I put up with a little bit watching when I did, but the 70s ones were good, and I think it's just the reflection. Hollywood reflects the era, but the 80s was just, you look at everything on TV, the big hair, the big cars, the big overspending, but meanwhile, the reality was everybody was broke. And the people that did have a little money did get stupid and were just like that. The 80s was a really bad decade, and it was counter 70s. It was nothing like the 1970s. It's true, and you get a lot of this revisionist history. I mean, but people ain't going to remember that. They can't even remember back when George Bush was president, the second one. So, but I mean, that's the way we remember it, and I remember it. And people that were working hard. I know what you mean. My dad, we had great, and then all of the sudden, Joe, and it was like overnight, man, and it lasted for years. And you couldn't even, not only could you not buy a job, man, you couldn't even get a minimum wage job. It was just terrible. And a minimum wage was fucking $3.35 an hour clear until the 90s. I mean, so it was really fucking horrible. And here's the thing: in '84, I don't know what in the fuck the whole country was on, but 49 states Reagan won. Only one Mondale won was his home state. Really, we were that fucking dumb. The country was already in the hole for a couple of years, bad. And these people just, I don't know what it was about Reagan. He never did it for me. Of course, I was young, but I remember him well because I hated him. I couldn't stand him. My grandparents loved him. He will. I mean, I didn't even find him charming in that way. I didn't find anything fucking charming or intelligent except for that he was 185 years old and being controlled by people around him. I felt sorry for him at the end because they were just propping him up and controlling him. And they probably would have killed him if he wouldn't have been so going along with all their shit. But he didn't do it for me. I mean, you saw probably a million people fall for his bullshit. But yeah.
He was a puppet for the corporations.
Yeah, but his charisma, man, all these people that bought into it, 49 states. I mean, I never saw it with him. Did he ever do that for you? Did you ever think, okay, even like, okay, you disagreed with him and looking at him, did you ever even think, God, this guy could really, fuck no, he didn't do anything for me. I mean, there was no charisma there at all.
Let me tell you something.
Fuck no.
When he was a governor of California, and when I lived in California, and he closed all of the mental institutions in California, and a lot of these mental institutions comprised of Vietnam veterans that were there because they had a lot of problems coming back from Vietnam, and they needed help. They needed help. They needed counseling and this and that, right? Well,
yeah. In a time when we're talking, right? Keep in mind the people out there what Joe's saying. We're only talking 5 to less than 10 years out of Vietnam at this point, so it's still really thick in their heads.
And so what he did was he closed all the institutions. When he was governor, he closed all the institutions. Now, what happens to all those people? Now they're all homeless. Now we had like hundreds of thousands, well, maybe I don't know how many, but there was thousands of people that were mentally ill on the streets. Now, a lot of them were like totally mentally ill. A lot of them were Vietnam veterans that were not necessarily mentally ill, but they were mentally messed up because they came back from the war and saw a bunch of shit that they shouldn't have seen because the war was a total bullshit war. And so they came back and he just decided, oh, we're going to close all these institutions and we're going to let all these people out on the street. So now, what do we have here in California? We have thousands of not only Vietnam veterans, but thousands of other mental patients that were just put out on the street. And now they're all homeless people on the street. And it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. I could not believe
Yeah,
that. I used
yeah,
to,
and now,
let me tell you
right,
something.
and now all these years. Go
Hold on
ahead.
a second.
Yeah.
I used to take my boys um, on Sundays. It was like our day, me and the boys. I used to take my boys and I used to take them downtown San Diego, and I used to drive past all these homeless people standing on the roads with their shopping carts, and just laying on the street and sleeping and all that. And I said, son, look at that. You see that? Can you see that? I don't want you to be anywhere like that. I don't want you to be anywhere like that. And that inspired my boys to become productive members of society because I showed them that. But in my mind, what I was doing was like showing them, hey, look, this is what your governor did. This is what your governor did. I didn't say that to them because I was letting them make their own judgment on how society is. Because I was not the type of person that is going to influence anybody. I'm just going to like let them see what the reality is and not influence them with my words or actions. I'm just going to let them see what reality is. And they saw that reality and they said, holy fucking shit. No way am I going to be like that.
Yeah, in America of all places, man, exactly. Kudos to you for that because it's not easy to not slam the governor. Yeah, go
Wait a
ahead.
minute. Later on in life, after they saw all that crap, I told them, I said, look, you see all them people on the streets? I mean, no. I said, do you remember when I took you on those trips on Sunday downtown San Diego? Do you remember those trips? Yeah, Dad, I remember those trips. I said, do you remember all those guys that were laying on the streets and pushing their shopping carts? And I said, yeah, I remember that, Dad. I said, well, you know what? You know who did that to them? Was President Reagan. But he wasn't President Reagan then. He was Governor Reagan. But by the time I was talking to them, he was President Reagan.
Ah, that's an interesting story. Okay, so when they were younger, when this was going on, he was governor, and you're telling us, your boys, when he was president in the '80s, and I've seen some old clips of him as a governor when he didn't quite have Alzheimer's. He was more of a cocky, I think a little bit more of a cocky prick. He did say one thing funny. I heard one time they played when he died. They played a scene of him. He met some hippie protesters when he was going into a speech, and he made a joke. He said, I saw a guy and two girls laying on the grass with a sign that said "Make love, not war." To tell you the truth, I don't think they could have done either. And it's funny. Maybe the one time I agree with him because he was probably talking about one of the hippie movement people that were like just in it for the fucking cause and not the cause, but they were in it to be in some kind of a protest, right? They weren't doing what they needed to do and taking it seriously. And that kind of, I see that with a lot of, not a lot, but some star seeds that are just kind of in it for a label. But anyway, that's really not the point. So Reagan did that shit. And then Reaganomics, prices go up, wages go down. That's Reaganomics, and he was involved in that. And all these homeless people, plus Joe at the time, as you know, there was no jobs. Okay, all this shit. I mean, it was a recipe for a disaster. We're really lucky. We're really fucking lucky we made it out of the 1980s. I'm telling you, with shit that was going on.
Yeah, we are lucky because what could have happened is at the time Russia was powerful. this was before China was powerful, and Russia was powerful at that time. And Russia could have come in and taken over and brought us into a different type of economy. And there was probably a lot of people that would have gone with the philosophy of communism, because at the time everybody was so destitute and had no money. I mean, even people that had good jobs lost their jobs. And so there was a time when uh, Russia could have come in there and said, "All right, we're going to show you a new way of life." And you know, we probably could have gone to it.
Well, all those isms, communism, capitalism, socialism, they're all, you know what? Without greed, hey, they would all work. They would all be pretty damn good societies without human greed and deceit and fucking and power mongers. They would all pretty much work to a point. And, I remember there was a TV movie called America with a K, where the Russians took us over in the mid '80s. And our government, man, they had us so scared. As you even grew up before me. The fucking big bad wolf was the Soviet Union. And yes, militarily on the ground, on the air, we would have had to nuke them to take them out. They would have had us on the ground. We probably would have had them in the air, but they were very fucking powerful. And we kind of let our guard down under Reagan before, Russia collapsed. And it wasn't any thanks to Reagan. It was because Russia just went broke, plain and simple. And, I don't know, their coup could have been a ruse too. I have no idea, but the scare stories at night, remember the nuclear war movies? Those used to frighten me as a kid. And I know you were a little bit older by then, but I mean, the nuclear war movies, the '80s, and it just was really, what a fear tactic they used on us. They talk about fear tactics now with terrorism. It ain't shit. It's fucking lame. It ain't nothing. Try going to bed every night wondering if the planet's going to blow up for real. Not just a war, but blow up. These kids don't know what that's like. I mean, I'm not saying these kids don't know, but they didn't grow up in a time where it was like that. Now it's just terrorism. I mean, this was shit like, okay, are we going to get nuked tomorrow? Well, it looks like Joe dropped out of the room again. His phone must have got hot. But the point being is we just want to, and I just want to get on here and talk a little bit about our opinions and things of that nature. And these are just our thoughts. Like I said, I would put my opinions up against people that wanted to challenge that. I would have to wonder though, and I would welcome any opposing views that weren't based out of a judgment or oh, you're being judgmental. Okay, well, maybe fine, maybe I am being judgmental, but if that's your only argument, okay, fine, forget it. I mean, I don't want to, oh, I'm being judgmental. Well, you're being judgmental by saying that. I mean, why does the truth hurt? Sometimes the truth hurts. Sometimes the truth is a bitch, and these are all true. This isn't something about paranoia that we made up. We lived, and it's true. And I mean, if you want to live in a disillusionary world and not believe it, but the good news is, hey, we're awakening. The younger people already figured it out. They can see what a mess that the generations before them, what a complete bunch of fucks we were, but they don't have judgment. They know it was a learning thing. Joe, Broadway Joe. Hey, Joe, you got to be any big Super Bowl predictions there, Joe Namath? Anyway, I was just going on a little bit further about that, about how scary it was with the nuclear.
My phone died.
Well, it came back to life real quick. You resurrected your phone, man. But do you have any thoughts of growing up being scared at all as a kid of a nuclear war or seeing the fear movies and that shit?
No, I don't believe any of that's going to happen, because I believe that everybody is totally aware that what could happen will happen. And so
Oh, totally agree. Totally agree. But I'm saying,
they're just
no, go ahead. I was just going to say back then, yeah.
Everybody's just flexing their muscles, and they're not like really interested in having a nuclear war, because that's never going to happen. And if it does,
it won't be allowed to. Yeah.
And if it does happen, oh well. We're
Well,
fucked.
I truly believe it won't. That as far as my conscience goes, I don't think we'll never have another nuclear bomb. Leashed on another country, another intercontinental ballistic missile. Some may be tested, but I think it'd be stopped. But I know people know better now, but it just goes to show you how awareness is power, because now we know that and we have those mediums. But like I said, growing up as a kid in the 60s, 70s, and even into the early 80s, though, that fear in America we were kept under of a nuclear war. And I know, speaking to people from Russia that grew up around that time, they were being told the same shit about us. So, I mean, it's interesting. It's really interesting. But the scare of the nuclear war and it still stays with me to this day, man. I mean, not much traumatized me, but those early 80s nuclear war movies on TV, it just like Threads and The Day After and I saw them all, and they were really frightening, man. It was even though it was a movie, Joe, it was sobering to see people after nuclear war and what they're going through. It was just very sobering, man.
Well, a lot of times movies will reflect the future, and some of these movies that have been coming out are reflecting the apocalypse, and after the nuclear war and after the everything that's going to happen, and you know what I believe is happening is that the mainstream, not so much the media, but the mainstream film goers, which are, I believe, are very attuned to what's happening in the world, are preparing us for what may happen. What Not for what is going to happen, what may happen. So they're preparing us, so everybody wants to go out and buy a freaking assault weapon, against zombies, and everyone's, buying assault weapons against, people that are going to invade our country and
Yeah, we're gonna go to FEMA camps and all that shit. But Joe, man, you ought to know better than anybody, man. Haven't they been doing that since the fucking '60s with bomb shelters? And whether it was now it's the terrorists gonna get us, back then it was the Russians coming and get yourself a fucking bomb shelter, get your food, get your supplies. I mean, I don't know if you remember the old episode of Twilight Zone where the dude built the bomb shelter and then everybody wanted to come in. But
dude, I
yeah,
remember,
it's always.
I remember back in the '60s when we used to have air raid drills, and we used to have to like get under our desk and hold our hands over our head, and crouch in a like a fetal position, and uh, that was like supposed to protect us from a bomb. But
From a tidal wave from the sky. Yeah, I was supposed to stop you from a tidal wave from the sky. When I was in elementary school, it stopped in junior high, but we'd have them once a year, those air rangers. We'd get them once. I imagine I was told you guys probably had them regularly back then, huh? I'm going to say yes for Joe. That's probably a yes. His phone's getting hot, and we're about ready to wrap up anyway. But it's just awareness is power, and people bitch about the internet. But thank God for the internet coming along. I don't think they quite figured that it was going to connect people like it did, like star seeds, and just people to interact and know what was going on and have everything at their disposal. You really take for granted having YouTube and going able to look up any song. We just take it for granted. I mean, back in the day, you'd have to hope for it to come on the radio or go get the next record or the cassette. I mean, it's I'm old enough. The internet did not even come out to the public till I was 19 and a half. It was early 2000, or it was early 1995, but it was like 28K dial up. You couldn't do anything for that first year besides watch a page take a minute to load to read. You really weren't able to play any video on them till 97, and it was shoddy, or any audio like till early 97. It was shoddy, and then came very shoddy video. And then, of course, I remember somebody in 1999 I knew, an IT tech, who paid $100 a month for a high-speed cable to go in to his, but that was a rarity. Then in the early 2000s, you started to see it pick up and speed up, and it gets quicker and quicker. But the internet, too, for that first year here where I live, of course, I mean, only people that had it were people that had money. I mean, it was you bought it by the hour, and it was really shoddy at best. But anyway, Joe, you're back. I mean, what I was saying is, did you guys have those air raid drills on a frequent basis then? I think his sound died. I can't, maybe he can hear me, but I can't hear him. Uh-huh. Hey, Joe, Broadway Joe. Joe, the central scrutinizer is coming. Frank Zappa's looking for you. Joe looks pretty good this morning for at 4 a.m. whatever time it is, 5 a.m. in the morning down in Hollywood, Florida, man. Looking like the Latin Willie Nelson. Hey, his phone's getting hot and dying, but it's probably getting past most people's bedtime because I know the longer that you listen, the later it gets. I think his phone's hot and burning up. It's been a really good show. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I'm going to go ahead and say that, you can find Joe Garcia on Facebook at his timeline. I'm sure there's plenty of Joe Garcias, but look for the one that looks like a cool Latino Willie Nelson, and you've got Broadway Joe there. You can find Joe in, I know a lot of the groups that I have, you can find him in most of the Pleiadian specialty groups, Pleiadians Plus Attitude, Pleiadians Crystal Rainbow, Blu-ray Indigos, the Fringe Thinkers, things of that nature. A Pleiadian Lyran Kingdom, Pleiadian Reiki Healer Masters, Pleiadian Twin Flames United. Anyway, Joe's all over the place. Joe's with his family. Joe's hanging out with the Star family like we all are on Facebook, just, doing our thing, just supporting each other and trying to work through this cause together. And so it goes, and I think this was just, I didn't do this on the PEP because I'm trying to keep that a little bit more professional and more Starseed basic related information and information for us positive going forward. This was kind of just a talk for Joe and I to, look back on things and, reminisce. I know, like I had mentioned, he had influenced me a couple months, well, several months now, but that's time goes by fast. It's been about 4 or 5 months now. I did a talk on that, the Illuminati control starting 79 and that 79-84 transition phase. And I would encourage everybody to check it out because they'll really know what I'm talking about when they watch that, of where I got that information channeled from, and, the staggering story of how I heard what I heard, and then was never able to find that link again. It was just crazy. These were things I had thought as a kid, and then during my awakening, I found this channeling one day about 5 years ago, and I fell on my bed. Literally, I'm like, oh my fucking God, nobody's ever said that. I've been saying that in my side my whole life, telling people are finally channeling again. I spent hours before, and then I went back and spent hours and tried to find it and find it. It was some channeling from 2006, 7 or 8, an old one on the internet, an electronic one. The kind we all listen to when we first start awakening, especially before they find the groups. I never found any of these Facebook groups till I was already 2.5 years into my awakening. I would never find them. I'd look for them once in a while, but couldn't find them. I had my own Fringe Thinkers, which had no more than 25 members for 2.5 years. And one day I typed in Pleiadians again, and there it was. I could never find any of these groups. It was the strangest thing. I wouldn't even believe it if somebody told me that. You kept trying to type it in all periodically. Yeah, every few months, never. Then Thanksgiving weekend of 2013, I found them all, joined them all, met some really great people. Took the Fringe Thinkers. I was like, shit, it's going to be 25 people forever. Took it up to, we're 15,000 at one point, and it's still at 14,000, and the group just is what it is. But that's what connecting can do. I never thought I would do talk shows with some of these people I listen to. There's probably 4 people or so that I would listen to before I met in these groups. Like, wow, those people are really cool. Wow, would be neat to do that someday. And hey, I did get to live part of my dream. I've done shows with them, before, whether it's whether it's Greg Prescott, or whether it's Lionel Anderson. I'm not going to discuss those issues that concern him and I, and all the Pleiadian stuff that went down in the major group. But doing a show with him, Greg Prescott, getting to meet people like Marianne Rada, or talk to her voice to voice, when I was just enamored by her channelings. Leah Shapiro, conversing with Alfred LeBron Webbery. Things of that nature. It's just Rob Potter. It's just been amazing. Martin Horst. You know, so it just goes to show you how close as a world and connected we are. You know, I mean, the 6 degrees of separation are really coming down to, you know, 2 or 3 and shrinking. So with that being said, of course, you know, Joe is gonna get into the tobacco gods too, and you know, talk a little bit, add a little bit of humor to the 2 funny shows I did on the light grid. And I want to explain something to people about that. The Plate and Express Productions channel, Google channel, and YouTube channel is kept for. It's the bigger YouTube channel. It's for, you know, talking about dialogue about awakening issues, starseed issues, serious issues um, that affect us as a collective. The light grid is just basically anything goes. I mean, you know, you've heard all my 10 stupid songs on there. I do, because it's just weird. I'm wacky. I did those. The little humor that I do, and of course, there's the 15 show playlist I did with my child, you know, my best friend since age 4, Mr. X. You know, we get on there and rant and rave and whatever. We just have fun. So the light grid's for that. And you know, of course, it has a page. What's kind of weird is it has a page on Facebook that's almost got 15,000 likes, and you know, it's kind of it's for good posts and you know, controversial, what you call controversial posts, but it's not like, it's funny, I don't really have it reflecting what the YouTube channel posts, even though I post the YouTube stuff from it to that page. But you know, I also have another channel that's only got 1 show on it, Arcturian Crystalline Grid, and I've never done anything with it. If anybody be interested in really taking that out, taking it and taking off with it, I'd be glad. That'd be cool. But you know, basically, I want to reiterate to people out there that if, you know, it really, if you want to come on and talk and share your experiences, let's do it. This is your time. I mean, you know, this is your time to do it. We've heard from all the big pioneers, and you know, we love them for laying the foundation. Barbara Marciniak, Barbara Hand-Clow. I could go on and on. You know what I mean? David Wilcock, David Icke. Shit, the list goes on and on and on. You know, and it don't stop till the break of dawn. I'm just getting at a brain, you know, Dolores Cannon, our, you know, creator, rest her soul, a great woman who stumbled upon what she stumbled upon, just trying to hypnotize people to quit smoking and lose weight. And, you know, and thousands of people started saying the same shit. She's like, whoa, wait, what's going on here? You know, and then of course the generations come, and, you know, then the people now are able, because of Dolores's work, right, to put together that 5 to 10% maybe she couldn't figure because she was back in that day. You know what I'm saying? It's always like you know, talk about Edgar Casey's channelings. I look at Edgar Casey, and he was 90%, like 90% accurate in what he said, but you got to understand it was in the 1930s and shit. And I mean, that other 10% he didn't get wrong. I mean, or he didn't get right. That could have been, he could have misunderstood that. It could have been talking about a parallel reality. Could have been talking about the past. So I'd say for that time period, that's better than anybody now. And as far as Pleiadian channelers go, I think they're all great. I think that I'd encourage everybody to listen to. I know she's done one, and it's really it's as good as any of them that have ever been made ever. Bridget Rao, I'm going to have her on the show Saturday night, and you're talking about the next generation. I mean, she adds a little bit to it, but you know, I get it. Some channelers, it's like, okay, whatever. You know, it's like, okay, they say this or say that. This is coming, that's coming. But what I found is that every single one of the Pleiadian channelers, there's one that I found that, you know, I've heard her before, and I just think she's a little, you know, head in the clouds, older, got her, you know, whatever. I'm not going to mention her name, but I don't really, I vibe with her kind of, but not really. But all the others I just caught almost to a T. I love them. I mean, whether it's Lou Martin, Wessenack, Marianne Rada, Leah Shapiro, Barbara Marciniak, Wendy Kennedy. There's another lady I can't think of right now, but just really amazing souls, right? They're really just super amazing, and they're just so, they're pure, and this is source, they're telling the same thing, but it's not copycat, it's coming through their own consciousness, right? And all, you know, so you can't really go wrong with any of the Pleiadian channelers, you know, any of them. I even like Matt Kahn. You know, Matt Kahn's a little kind of like goofy, but you know, I like what he has to say, and so that's just the main thing. You take what resonates with you, and whatever doesn't. You know, like I said, I like them all. There's one that's, I don't know. I mean, she's been on Coast to Coast before, and she doesn't jive with a lot of things that the other channelers come up with or cry on, which you can't go wrong with Cryon or Barbara Marciniak, because they give innate possibilities, right? And all those innate possibilities going the way that they've been dead on, you know. And this is back in the late 80s, early 90s, they were saying this shit, right? And it wasn't like Nostradamus bullshit type of, oh, this and that and the revelations. It was innate possibilities because they deal in parallel realities and timelines. And there's just a couple things by this one lady I've heard. I don't, you know, she's okay, but I mean, I wouldn't, you know, whatever. That's not my thing. You know, I like Cryon. I like Cryon, I'll be quite honest. Bashar's okay. Abraham Hicks, I can take that shit for a minute or two, but whatever resonates with you, okay? You know, you got Abraham Hicks, you got Bashar. They're kind of like the junior high school. Then you got the senior varsity, like Cryon. And that's more kind of what I'm into, the higher, the angelic realms combined with the higher Pleiadian dimensions. So, you know, but listen to what resonates with you, and you know, and take it for what it is. And just as I was wrapping up the show, hey Joe, welcome back, man. I kind of wrapped up the show. I told everybody where they could find you on Facebook, different groups, but do you have, you know, the floor is yours. Do you have any last, you know, take your time, any words you want to say to the people before we wrap it up?
My phone died, so the only thing I have to say is keep on keeping on, and don't lose faith in yourself.
Sound advice, because it's all you got. Keep on keeping on, and LIVIN, living. And of course, I'm your host, Rocken Larry Locken. Like I mentioned, you can find me on Pleiadian Light Grid Project, both the page and the Google YouTube channel. You can find the same thing with the Express, both the page, Google channel. And we do have, you know, Larry.Wicks, well, I'm going to get this right someday. I keep getting embarrassed on air. Larry.Wicks at PleiadianExpressPro.com there. And that can link you to both YouTube channel and Google channels. We also have a, you know, I'm trying to get some equipment so I can do these shows on a regular basis and get some donations. Maybe there's a donation button there. You can donate $1, $2, $5, whatever. If not, fine. But it'll link you to both the Google and YouTube channels that we have. And also you can find me on every motherfucking Pleiadian group, almost, excuse my language, on Facebook. Go to Pleiadian groups and pages page, not the index. I created the index one too, but go to the pages one and you can see, you know, the 40 or so groups, regional and specialty groups that I've created, mostly Pleiadian related, some Andromedan, a couple Lyran, and, you know, an Arcturian page, crystalline grid project page, and the Arcturian love and wisdom group. Much love to them. But mostly the majority of them are Pleiadian groups and like over 30 regional groups, you know, that they're just out there. Anybody wants to use them or admin them, that's fine. I put them out there for the people, and that's just really, you know, that really is what it is, you know. So just want to wish much love to our star family out there. And Joe, with that, we're going to give everybody a big cosmic dating game kiss to send them off. Mwah!
Thank you, bro. Love you,
Sorry,
bunch.
love you too, man. Go dating game.
Yes.